All right, Stacy. So for the people who cannot see you right now, people who are listening from a podcast player,
Yeah.
can you describe the volume, the texture, and the consistency of your hair right now?
Uh, the volume is as big as Texas. This is part of the manifestation journey I'm on, that if my hair is big as Texas, that I get to move there sooner. So my hair, the curls are as big as Texas. The volume is turned up. Like the bass is deep on the volume that we've got on this hair. The texture, I mean, we've got a balance of some tightly wound curls and some loosely wound waves, but I might be channeling my inner Mufasa from Lion King right now. Like it's a lot, but I'm really, my curl journey, different story, different day. Um, Working on taking up more space and being seen, and this is natural. This is natural. This is me in all natural.
Hey, you know what? I think everybody is here here for that. And if they're not a fan of the show already, when they get to see this on a video, then they will definitely be a fan after this because they'll either be able to relate or they'll say, "Man, I wish I had the ability to do that with my hair." Right?
I will
Um,
tell you that my hairdresser saw my hair on Instagram today, and I've already gotten some DMs of, girl, the hair today is fire. So for you guys listening or watching, you need to know, like, Beyonce has an alter ego like Sasha Fierce, and that when she's Sasha Fierce, that's like when all that Fierce Beyonce comes out. When my hair is curly, you about to know stuff's about to get done. Like it's a little bit untamed. It's a little bit reckless. It's a little bit like I came to play. So I came to play.
I like it. I like it. Do you have anything to give our listeners before we kick this show off?
I do. I do. First of all, if you are operating heavy equipment, machinery, lifting while listening to this, lift safely, drive safely. We are not responsible should you drop something on yourself, run into something, because of the humor value that we provide in our educational content. Also, just for the record, this is our opinion. We are business coaches, business partners, and friends and coaches having a conversation with you. We are not doctors. We do not play them on the internet. We are not therapists. We also don't play them on the internet. We are coaching people to take them from here to there, and we're best friends. So, with that disclaimer, I can add, for those of you who are watching or have seen us on social media, there is like an underground group of people who might call Justin McSteamy, as in, from Grey's Anatomy. So if you're a Grey's Anatomy fan, there was McDreamy and McSteamy, and you could just vote on which one Justin gets to be when he works out. Did you even watch Grey's Anatomy ever?
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Do you know which one's McDreamy and McSteamy?
I know which one's McDreamy. I don't know about the McSteamy one.
McDreamy was, I think, Patrick Dempsey. McSteamy was the other guy. So no, you'd fall more into the McDreamy category.
Gotcha. Okay.
You're
Well,
not gray enough to be McSteamy. I don't remember his name, and nobody else cares. So if you guys want to be part of that fan club, do not show up in my DMs because his wife and I are also best friends, and I'll be mad. So will she.
I'm
There you
sure
go.
I'm sure they're gonna show up in your DMs regardless, so it won't really matter. Um, but with the time we had today for you guys, we thought it'd be best since on the last episode we kind of told you where the name of the podcast came from, but we didn't really get into where we came from, how we got here, and ultimately where we plan to go. And of course, there's no way we're going to be able to fit everything that we would like to fit into the next 30 minutes or so. But if it is something that you want to know more about, we'll let you know where you can find us at the end of every episode, just like we always do. So um, I guess I'll go first because I'm not afraid of starting from the beginning, I reckon. So, if you're not familiar with me, I was born and raised on a row crop farm in Arkansas. And that's exactly where this accent came from. I live in Texas now, but I even have a hat on today that says "Make Farming Great Again."
Oh,
Um, and it's a spinoff from a company that's actually started in Arkansas. Anyway, but can't see that if you're not watching this yet. Uh, Started on a row crop farm in Arkansas. My family still owns and operates that row crop farm of somewhere around 3,500 acres, which sounds like a lot to a lot of people. And in fact, it's something towards the middle of what is actually a normal, typical sized operation in that part of Arkansas, right? So if we're talking Arkansas, we're talking east of the middle of the state. So east of Little Rock. If you know anything about that geography, the town is called Brinkley, is the name of the town where I'm from. It's basically a little interstate town between Little Rock and Memphis on the interstate. But
is that where they have the really cool McDonald's that my husband loves?
that's where they have the McDonald's where if you order an hour ahead of time, you might get it when you get there.
Maybe one day we'll
Um,
bring Ted on the podcast to tell that
oh,
story.
we don't. We better block off 2 hours. That's all I know.
Carry on.
So, uh, growing up on the farm, went my all of my high school career went to the little small town high school there in Brinkley. The town's like less than 3,000 people, just to give you a sense of how I grew up. And I grew up 7 miles outside of that. So, I didn't have any neighbors really. I mean, they were like a whole field away. Right. So, I grew up pretty, um, I wouldn't say isolated, but it wasn't like I could just go to a friend's house, right? Like I had to like plan to go see people. We have to plan to go to the grocery store in town. It's like a trip. It's not just like something you go and do. Like now I have a grocery store, 5 minutes down the road from my house. So I can just go to the grocery store if I need two things or three things. Um, so, um, Grew up a farm kid in actually graduated valedictorian. That's not well, I mean, when you have a class of 70 people, maybe it doesn't seem like a feat of wonder, but it's something that I'll still claim to the day I die, right? Graduated valedictorian, it's fine. Um, and went to college with an agriculture major in mind. Funny enough, it was either going to be like some type of sports medicine or agriculture. That was what the two things I had in my mind, which now being in this profession makes a whole lot more sense to me. Um, anyway, went there, got a few degrees in agriculture, stayed around for a master's degree, did all that whole thing. Oh yeah, by the way, met my wife when I was there. She's pretty important as well. Can't leave her out of the story. Um, and we moved to back to Central Arkansas. So we went to school at University of Arkansas, which is kind of up in the northwest corner. Moved back to Central Arkansas, did our thing there. I was in the ag industry for a few years, and then somewhere around 2018 is when I became a Legionnaire with First Form. And up until this point, I really hadn't helped anybody, but maybe my mom, because I had really mostly been helping myself as far as like transforming my own health and fitness in terms of coaching anybody. I hadn't helped anybody. It was just me and my mom. I was like, "Hey, mom, I don't." Funny enough, I think I have maybe told this story before on social media, but my first nutrition intervention, if you will, that I can remember was high fructose corn syrup. So I would say, "Hey, mom, I need you to look at this when you buy things, when you buy groceries, and I know nothing with high fructose corn syrup." So for whatever reason, that was like the ingredient to make sure that you avoid. And I still, for the most part, I agree with that. That's not altogether a negative thing to do. So um, no high fructose corn syrup. Uh, so mom would help me with that because I was living with them during the summers and things like that. And this was right before, or this was, let's see, yeah, this was probably right before or just after I went off to college. So this would have been pre, obviously, me meeting Paige, graduating college, all that kind of stuff. So it was no high fructose corn syrup. She caught on with that, and then it was um, looking at protein, carbs, fats a little bit, right? Still not understanding how to track macros, but understanding food recommendations, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then it was calories, so on and so forth, kind of went from there. But the long and short of it is, I didn't really make a significant transformation in my health and fitness until probably the summer after my freshman year of college, because the nutrition and the physical part started to come together. Um, where what I had learned in like the basics of nutrition, and again, most of this I started to pick up from some of First Form's public facing, nutrition talks and the content that they put out like that. And then Paige, as a matter of fact, my wife Paige, introduced me to CrossFit because she had done it a little bit before she graduated high school, and then she had done it the summer right after our freshman year, and she was like, hey, you should see if there's one, close to this end of town or whatever. I don't even remember why I didn't go to the one that she had gone to that summer. It was just, I think it was just too far out there. So got introduced to CrossFit. That introduced me to a whole new crew of people who I then started to, again, like supplementation and like, how does this work? And how does food, play into this process, all that kind of stuff. Fast forward to going through college, understanding nutrition, but not always adhering to anything because I'm in college and I was in a fraternity. So we drank, we ate, we did whatever. We had a good time. After college, though, I started, once me and Paige got married in 2018, I became a legionnaire with First Form, and that's when I really started the majority of my coaching journey. Made a Facebook group, starting getting people involved, people that I didn't know, people that weren't family or friends. And although they weren't paying me at the time, I was gaining a lot of relevant experience in that category. And that's where the coaching journey, as far as how I got into nutrition and health and fitness and that type of thing. That's where that started, was in 2018. Ever since then, I have been pursuing that to a higher level at some degree. In 2018, it started as that. I still had an agriculture job for probably the next year and almost year and a half. At that point, I decided I think it would be fun to move to Texas because there's a lot more going on in North Texas than there is in Central Arkansas in a general economic view. And so I moved here, became a personal trainer, actually worked at Orange Theory for several months as a trainer there. So that was an interesting experience. Never stepped in Orange Theory before in my life up to that point. Didn't even really know what it was. So did that. And then I helped open up an Equinox in a town not too far south. And that was awesome because I got to meet some really good friends and mentors who are still friends and mentors to this day. And that's where I got a really good lesson in people. Being a personal trainer at Equinox, which if you don't know what Equinox is, you can look it up. Equinox is a really bougie gym. Equinox is about the fanciest, most luxury gym that you can get into. I mean, it's other than like a private club type of scenario that may be like a one-off or whatever. From a chain fitness standpoint, Equinox is about the bougiest that it gets. Steam towels, eucalyptus towels, steam rooms. Everything looks the exact same in every single one of them. Very uniform. high quality of training, high standard on the floor. Like it's different. It's just, you don't, it doesn't look like a regular commercial gym. So anyway, that was my first and really only commercial gym experience in terms of personal training. But what it taught me was there are a lot of different types of people out there that make a lot of money. Because up to that point, I kind of saw everybody who did well for themselves as generally the same type of person. But what I learned was, it doesn't matter how much money you make, people are still people, and they come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and demeanors, right? Like everybody has their own little thing. And so it was interesting to me to see it from a social perspective, because I never thought about it at that point. I was just looking at like, oh, it's fitness, whatever. And yeah, so 2019 to 2020, end of 2020, 2021, something like that. Personal train with Equinox. They made some decisions as a company that I did not agree with. And so from that point forward, I decided that I was going to figure out how to exit that job. And about a year later, I did. Had my own, or had built an online training um, business. And when I say online training, mostly online nutrition coaching, not like training people via FaceTime or anything like that. And then that's kind of how we got here today. And again, there's some parts in there for time's sake that I am not going into detail on, but the point of it all is I got to nutrition via the roots, which is why the roots in farming, which is why my Instagram name is Farmer to Fitter, because a lot of what I observed there in terms of principles and how things work in the agriculture, or from an agriculture standpoint, also work very similarly in the human body, notwithstanding the obvious connection of food and how it's grown and all that kind of stuff. But that people are still people, no matter if you're selling a tractor to them or you are teaching them how to do a back squat, right? Like the way that you talk to them really doesn't change. You're just talking to them about a different thing,
I
right?
think it would be fun to sell a tractor to somebody while they're doing a back squat.
Talk
And
about
I
a
know nothing about farming. I know things about back squats, but like one day, I just want to see if I can. Like, tell me like six things about a tractor, and I just will be like, you could be like, of course she did. Yep. If there's anybody who could pull that off, she did. She knows literally nothing about a freaking tractor.
Well, sometimes you just have to figure out how you can adapt your skill set to a different category, Stacy.
Well, here's why. Because I have the secret desire that I haven't told you. I mean, you won't get to really know, but I'm going to tell you now until uh, the first when we work on our vision board together. But I do want to bring the farmer back to that fitter. You know that I've got homestead goals. Like you guys are just seeing the beginning, but like just wait till there's a YouTube of Justin and I with chicken and cows and like a little bit of land, and we bring that farming piece back. You know, not the full homesteaders because we got other things we have to do. But like my husband and Justin's wife want no part of chickens. And Paige is like, yeah, you two can go have chickens. Go have fun with that. So yeah, down the road, time hasn't caught up yet. Uh, that's in my back pocket of bringing that farmer a little bit back to that fitter.
Hey, I'm not opposed to it. There's always those roots are always established, and they can be nurtured at any point in time. So um,
I'm
the
laughing right now as we talk about the things that we bought together recently. I'm like, holy shit, did we really buy a tractor together too? Hey Stacey, I found this
no
tractor. Can we buy it?
no, Stacy, I've got way too many of those already at home, so
Have,
we've got the equipment if we really need it. Okay.
have your dad drive it down. It'll be
Yeah.
fun.
No,
Okay,
not
no
drive
problem.
it down. Okay. Hey, fun fact, because this is totally irrelevant to anything we're talking about today. I did a
Okay.
project in high school on the Tractorcade, and I don't remember what year it happened. I think it was sometime in the 90s, 80s or 90s. A Tractorcade that happened. It was a show of protest from farmers about some bill that was going on in Washington, that farmers from all over the United States drove tractors to Washington, D.C. Think about driving a tractor. A tractor doesn't go but like 20 miles an hour, maybe 30 miles an hour max on an interstate from Arkansas to Washington, D.C., and then just parking them in the road in Washington, D.C. That's literally what they did. And so I interviewed a
Fierce.
guy who participated in it, and it was awesome. Like, just like to see, I even like got to go back and like historical news archives and like pull out video, like request video. It was really cool. Anyway, so yes, there is a such thing as
Okay.
people doing a tractorcade. Um, the the point I was trying to make is I ended up coming to this point, this job career of online fitness and nutrition, and more recently, probably in the last 6 months, it's evolved really into seeing things, I would say maybe in the last year, seeing people from a full health perspective and figuring out how does what would support and serve us as a whole person more effectively, where's the gap in the truth that lies in those practices, principles, and techniques, and what we actually see in diet culture, to just give it a phrase, right? What we actually see on social media. And so that is what now you and I are starting to tackle together in terms of trying to figure out how do we give people the best experience possible to put themselves through a process that they're going to come out the other side more permanently fixed and set up to support their health and advocate for their own health long term.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to word it. And I think that here's what I'll say. If you're listening to this right now and you are somewhat confused, it's okay because we haven't explained it yet. Of this whole idea of like this hybrid health coaching, so to speak, and we'll get into my story in a second, comes from this place of like, you're more than just your physical body. You know, you have thoughts and emotions, and though your cells don't have emotions, which we talked about on the last podcast, like how you feel, the stress you carry, your previous life experiences all have an impact on your physiology. And really, we've come to this place where we've seen over the course of both of our careers, people be really frustrated, me being one of them, of their bodies not doing what they want them to do, and not fully understanding why. So they leave really frustrated, and then they do the next diet and the next diet and the next diet, which really just perpetuates the problem. And so as we got into this relationship together, we were like, well, hold on, there's more to this. And if you guys don't know, like Justin and I can geek out so quick on nutrition, medical, mindset stuff. Like if there's something we want to learn, he's more ferocious than I am. Like he just gets to it quicker. And but we're just there dotting I's and crossing T's and going, oh my gosh, yes. And this is really how we got here, from this duality of coaching. And so to back it up a little bit is that when we wanted to tell the story today is because our stories are so different. I won't say huge age gap, but there's a pretty significant age. What did we figure out? It's like 19 years between us.
Well, yeah, I'll be 30 in June.
Okay, so there's like almost 18 years between us. In case you didn't know, there's 18 years between us. He's male, I'm female. We have a lot of differences. We also come from very different backgrounds. I didn't even know what a row crop was. Okay. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley of California for some time, also just in Long Beach, outside of Compton. Um, my growing up was somewhat chaotic. Grew up really fast on my own, had to make adult decisions really early, and didn't grow up in the safest of places. And like, I remember when it comes to when you grow up in unsafe places, that you don't really have the ability as a child to make really healthy decisions, right? Because you're in survival mode for so long. So if we were to track my story back to the beginning, which Justin and I have over the course of the last year, we're going, Oh, oh, yes. This makes sense. Oh, of course, this makes sense why your cortisol is at this level and your adrenals perform at such an amazing level. Oh, this makes so much sense. We get it now. I remember going to Weight Watchers when I was 13. Didn't need to, I would not send a 13-year-old to Weight. Well, first of all, I wouldn't send anybody to Weight Watchers professionally. But at 13, that's not what we do for kids. And it really set at this cadence that I wasn't okay, that my body wasn't okay. And I could tell you how much fat a tablespoon of freaking mayonnaise had. I still hate mayonnaise. If there's mayonnaise in something, don't tell me. I have like a trauma response to mayonnaise from Weight Watchers when I was 13. And so it turned into this being really aware as a young woman that my body wasn't okay, that I wasn't okay, and I needed to be less. Like I had this big personality, like who you see now is just 13-year-old Stacy was that person as well, but always told like, hey, you need to be a little less. That's a little bit too much. That's a little bit too aggressive. That's a little bit too loud. You take up too much space. So as I went into high school, um, was my high school era at 15 probably looked like Justin's college days. Like I had a fake ID at 15 and I lived off cigarettes, Diet Coke, and a bean burrito for most of my high school experience. And I was really thin. I mean, when you just drink alcohol, smoke a lot of pot, eat like a bean burrito, that's like the best thing you've ever tasted when you're high.
Hey, I have another female client not too far removed of similar age who's like, "Yep, Diet Coke and cigarettes, baby. That's what it was." So I mean, hey, I can verify that is verified right there. I wasn't alive back then, but it's verified.
uh, Diet Coke and Marlboro Lights because I wouldn't even smoke reds. I had lights. I can't even remember. I think they were like $1.50 a pack back then. I don't even know how much they are because I haven't smoked a cigarette in forever, but that's how much they were back then. And so, but even in high school, it wasn't enough. Like even at what I was probably 125, 135 in high school. That wasn't small enough. And so like my weight fluctuated that entire time. I wasn't healthy. Got married and gained a lot of weight with my first kid, which, oh, I know why. I know why. Oh, I did fen to lose a shit ton of weight after I gained weight again. Do you know what fen is? It's like phentermine. It was like a diet pill, and anyway, it's bad for you. They had disclaimers like when you went to the dentist after that you'd have to like they wouldn't work on you because they didn't want you to have a heart attack in their chair for a really long time. You like it was bad. I would do really anything, and I've had done about everything to be to be a smaller frame. Um, so many things for the whole course of my whole life. Gained a crap ton of weight with my first kid, 80 pounds. Um, Probably had some gestational diabetes that they missed, and that was the course of weight gain, weight loss for forever until about 15 years ago. I went to a gym because my husband wanted me to ride a bike with him. And at 13, I had ridden a bike with my dad after drinking Hawaiian Punch and threw up all over the streets in Huntington Beach. It was like on Edison Avenue riding this beach cruiser. I threw up Hawaiian Punch everywhere. And I didn't ride a bike again until I was probably 34. So from 13 to 34, I didn't ride a bike. And my husband, who was fit-ish, was like more active than I was. And he was like, I just want a wife who'll be a playmate, who will ride bikes with me, which is really funny just to see how we've pivoted. Um, and so I'm like, okay, he bought me this bike and I was so mad. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to a spin class. And I didn't want to die. I probably walked in at like 250 pounds and I didn't want to die. And I didn't die in spin class, and I actually liked it. Well, in the course of all of that, is I made what I thought was a great group of friends. Some of them I still have, but none of them really knew what they were doing. We were kind of the blind following the blind. One was a fitness instructor, but really not trained in nutrition. And so popcorn was dinner. And like everything was an iced, skinny caramel macchiato that was 100 calories upside down. And it was just such disordered eating. And I didn't know any better. But I did again lose a crap ton of weight. And I had a group of friends and all of that. And it wasn't sustainable. I learned how to be lean. Well, no, I got lean. and I got strong and I got hurt a lot because if you guys don't know anything about me, if I'm going to take it somewhere, it's usually going to be too far. That was pastly true. That's not true now, right, Justin? No, that's not too far. I'm
I
better?
would I would say
There you go.
that's sometimes what you bias toward, but you're really good at going, I don't think so, and bringing it back.
Yeah, I'll bring it back. So what happened was in that time, I had a coach who broke every bad habit that I had. And she's like, I just want to train you and one other person, not for fat loss, just to be strong. And she like was not kind. And one day we'll get to tell the story about Kiele and how she only let me do a Turkish get up with a paper plate. That is not now the paper plates have been like a a benchmark in Justin and I's friendship. But I spent a year with her and then moved to Denver. And when I moved to Denver, once again, everything changed and I lost my coach and I lost my cadence. Our life was super traumatic. And I stepped into the yoga world, which is a different story for the different day, and began coaching people that way. Is that I learned how breath and movement really move stored emotions through the body and really made excuses for how unhealthy I was physically in the body positivity name. That because I was really good at my job and I was coaching and helping and mentoring a lot of people, that I hid behind this whole body positivity thing, even though I wasn't healthy at all. Was I training the whole time? Yes, not consistently. Was I eating? Sure. I had no idea about nutrition. And so what led me to here was that I realized that I wasn't giving my clients who were in the yoga world working on mindset, moving emotions and trauma through their body and breathfulness practices a full picture. Like I could take them so far physically and emotionally, but nutritionally, I couldn't support them, which led me into the nutrition space of coaching, going, I wanted to be a completely well rounded practitioner of for my client completely. Like they wouldn't need to go somewhere else. And so what led Justin and I together is this combination of both worlds that I mean, we jokingly say that I lived on a little bit of the woo side. There's a lot more science to my woo right now than we ever thought of how you think about how you think and regulating your nervous system impacts how your body responds to weight loss and weight gain, and how long you lived in that keyed up state impacts the results you can get. To, hey, we want to do this and bring this to more people and help as many people as possible. Very different origin stories that really brought us together. And I won't say by chance because I don't believe in chance, but neither one of it. And we're not getting into our origin story. You don't get to know about our friendship today. Of we couldn't have planned it, but we're super freaking grateful to be here. What would you add to that?
I want to highlight just something that I think most people experience but don't understand what it is when you said, hey, I was um, hiding behind maybe the body positivity thing, or you were making up for the fact that you weren't taking care of yourself physically by
Mm-hmm.
going harder in the direction of teaching yoga, coaching coaching people how to understand how to push mental and emotional trauma throughout the body and overcome it and work with it, stuff like that. So you went harder in the things that you felt secure in, all the while ignoring and trying to, stand behind that to say like, this is okay as long as I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I just read an article yesterday about a guy who is like in the programming computing. He's a nerd, right? He's in the nerd space of things, the IT world. And he as is tradition, because I've trained guys of his, status, they hide the fact that they're super successful, smart, and everything else. They go hard in that direction, forgetting about their body, and so, and that doesn't have to be true, but the overwhelming principle there is that be careful of what you are dumping so much of your time into, all the while very obviously ignoring the thing that you are too scared to address, which is, for a lot of people, their appearance and their health in general. Right. And I'm not saying that everybody has to be, you know, um, supermodel lean or bodybuilder lean or anything of that nature, or strong, or for whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is, the more healthy your body weight is, the more in check your health markers are, whether it's blood markers or nervous system or whatever it is. The more in check those things are, the better off you're going to be as an individual. Because the fact of the matter is, none of us control the influences on our, like what comes into our life ultimately. So you have to be resilient to some degree. You have to be ready to get tackled a little bit. And so the people who are up in their health and fitness, they're actually on the fit side, not just the okay side. They're actually towards the fitness end of the spectrum. They're hedging their bet against inevitable things that happen: sickness, injury, tough times, that type of thing. They're just hedging that bet. And so if you continue to hide behind the things that you feel comfortable with, right? Like, I'm really good at making a lot of money, so it's okay if I'm a little bigger, because I'm really, really good at making money and I have a lot of money and I help other people make a lot of money. That's great. But what happens when that starts to stand in the way of what you're actually good at? And that's where most people get to. They have to have this wake up call moment of, oh my gosh, I did not realize I had let it get that far, even though subconsciously I think they do know. They just don't understand the extent to which they have until they see a picture, until they try something on, until they have a conversation, I don't know, whatever it is, for the last time, or one of the first last times, and they start to actually put their best foot forward.
I want to add something to that before we close, because I don't want people coming at me from a body positivity movement. Here's the thing: you cannot heal a body that you hate. Okay? So, whatever body you have right now, whatever it looks like, whatever shape it is, I actually need you to love it, because you're not going to be able to transform something that you put that much energy in hating. That is a true definition of being body positive, right? I'm going to be positive about being kind to myself and still want something more. It's not an excuse to be unhealthy and call that positive. And that is a hill I absolutely will die on. That this thing that I got to hide behind actually didn't serve me. And so it's really easy to hide behind a movement if you don't actually want to change. And if you don't, we're okay with that. Like, if you want to work with us, you actually have to apply to work with us. Like, we're not a general population coaching practice. But I don't want people to hide when there is something on the table that they can actually move through and to support to make it on the other side. And I was knee deep in it. And even now, that while I still have physique goals, it's a very balanced practice of how hard I push and how hard I pull back, because I could go right back to who that girl was and dive into work and dive into helping people and dive into all of that, because that's important, and ignore myself again. Justin and I work really hard to make sure that I don't do that.
100%. So the thing that would be the best to remember is that we're not doing anything magic here when we talk
Not
about the
magic.
process that we put people through. We're just trying to bring into alignment all of the things that when they agree, when they get into quote unquote balance, then, and pretty much only then, will you make this accelerated progress, and most times permanent progress. Now, when somebody is not under our care anymore, we don't have any control over what they do, right? There could be a huge rock that falls down in their life and they start to go back to the way they were. Now, our belief is that if we arm them with the right tools and practices and they get enough exposure to it, then they will be able to adapt to that hard time as best as possible, right? They may not be able to sustain everything that they gained, but again, it's not about, like Stacy said, she's been through the ups, the weight loss, the weight regain, back and forth, back and forth. That's the problem in the majority of cases that we see. It's not doing it once. It's not getting the result. It's getting the result and keeping the result. So, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, even a year results are super impressive. But what's more impressive is show me that person in the next 12 months. And in fact, show me that person in the next 3 to 5 years, because at that point, they will have enough time to have gone through some tough times one way or the other, whether it's sickness, family, health, economically, whatever, and show me where they're at that point, because that's where you understand, did the process actually teach you something, or did you just do something to gain a result, right? Did you just save enough money to buy a car, but you don't really understand how to save money? Right? That's essentially something that it would be akin to. So
So, who is it, like this listening, that we want to work with? And then how do they work with us?
sure.
Because who we want to work with is actually really specific. Not that we don't, like, we're not excluding people, but we've really intentionally invested in a very specific niche to help people. And who are those people?
Yeah. So the people that we are trying to speak to are those people who believe that normal fitness and nutrition advice is something that they have diligently tried before, and they don't find that it works super well for them, right? Or it doesn't work like it used to. This also encompasses the category of people who have lived what I'd call a very heavy life. And I don't mean heavy in terms of weight, I mean heavy in terms of the things that they've had to go through. So these could be people that fall more into some of Stacy's history, right? They have a foster care history of being parents of foster care children or having been foster care children themselves. This could be people who have been veterans and have some form of TBI or PTSD. This could be people who have just had a really rough childhood, adulthood, whatever, really rough life in certain patches. And there are certain aspects to the way that they think, to the way that they experience the world, that stand in the way of adjusting their behavior to increase their health and fitness. That's the people that we're talking to. Like Stacy said, we're not purposely trying to exclude general population people. And I know that that's going to be a very ambiguous statement as we say it. That's why we have an application process, because we want to look at the individual and say, what does this person actually need? And does what we provide make sense for this person's need? Because we're not at all opposed to recommending a coaching practice that does something that's a little bit different than ours, because the person, even though they like us, doesn't necessarily fit in our niche, so to speak. And that's the best way that I know how to describe it. And what we've done is we've tried to take me, we had this idea that, hey, what if you could take me and Stacey, you could make one person out of it? Well,
We
physically
did.
that's yeah, physically that's not possible. But what if we coached this? What if we both coached one person? What if we both talked to the same person together, and they got to see how we talk to each other, how we talk individually, and they got to have the practices, the products, the principles that we both bring to the table in order to shift the way that they see the world, and therefore shift their behavior. Because at the end of the day, all health, fitness, nutrition, whatever coaches are going to coach you on behavior change. But how we get there is a little bit of a hybrid approach between what Stacy does so well in terms of bringing in what she calls the back roads to get to how your brain works based on what you've been through. And what I bring more to the table is how to support the body during that process so that we can take you where you want to go, hopefully to a more permanent state.
And I will say, like for people who are still listening and watching, it's not that the other one of us doesn't know the other things. One of us is a little bit better at the other of it. And that's why this dual combo. I never need to know as much as Justin knows. I just need to know enough. He never needs to know as much as I do. That's the whole point of us doing this together is this balance and duality of two sets of eyes, two sets of perspectives that we found to be super successful in the way that we do this. So, and we wouldn't have gotten here without our own visual stories. So as you guys are listening, I want you to think about, okay, well, what's my story? Because you have one. And you're listening because you're interested in ours. And we could have a better outcome together depending on what you want for you. It's not the easy road. I will tell you, if you ask any one of our clients, it's probably the hardest thing they've ever done. This isn't the easy way, but it is the best chance at longevity and the best opportunity for longevity, and it takes time. More time than people think, but once they get into it, they find so much more in the results that they wanted in everywhere in their life.
Absolutely.
So if people want us, how do they get us?
For the time being, the best way to get a hold of us is one of two ways. You can reach out to us on Instagram, and that should be at the end of the show notes. Wherever you're listening to this platform at, you can find our Instagram handles. So at Farmer to Fitter or at Stacy J Hansen.
Mm-hmm. Good job. Good job. Look at you.
You can DM us directly, and we can hook it up. Or we have since decided to create our own domain under a different name, and we're going by Fortify Health Coaching right now. And you can email us at justin@fortifyhealth.co or Stacy at fortifyhealth.co. That's .co, not .com. That's Fortify, Fortify Health, fortifyhealth.co. So that's the way that you can contact us, and we can help you through those mediums. But at the end of the day, however you choose to contact us, all that we ask is that if you inquire, you understand what we are saying right now is that yes, we are available to everybody, but we do work on an application process. And while we do have things that are in the middle, right? Not everybody needs full blown Justin and Stacy coaching.
Oh my God,
And
could you imagine? Could you imagine?
and also not everybody needs every single tool that we have in our toolbox right now. So we are developing things that are somewhere in the middle to give you enough to make improvements. And whatever you do with that investment is past the time that we give that to you, right? In more of a group setting. That's what we're bringing to the table is more of a group setting right now. And whatever you choose to do with it after the group setting is done is going to be up to you. So again, we're working on developing some different levels for different people, those type of things. So don't be afraid to reach out to us. That's the one thing I want to say. Don't be afraid to reach out to us because we're always willing to invest in a conversation. We just want to make sure that we're the right thing for you and not asking you to spend money for no reason.
Yeah, we're also not scary. People do say that I'm scary, but I don't think that I am.
Wait till they see your hair.
Well, today it might be. Today it might be, but that's fine. Taking up all the space. So this was a good conversation. I know we didn't get as in depth as we wanted to, but I think it was a good overview to show people where we started, where we are, and where we're going.
That's for sure. And if there's one thing you should know about the difference between Stacy and I
Oh
is
God. Oh God. Whenever you start something like that, I so don't know. Okay, go ahead.
that if you were going to make a playlist, and in fact, we're running a little bit of an experiment with this at this point in time. If you're going to make a playlist, then there might be some things that are different genres in my playlist and in Stacy's playlist. And yes, they are exactly what you think. And no, they are exactly the opposite of what you think at the same time, right? So yeah, Stacy, she's probably going to lean a little bit more on the DMX side of things, right, than I am generally. But we're also going to lean into some of the same categories too.
We'll have to show them the next time, we train together. Justin's EDM playlist in your garage.
Hey, look, if it doesn't have a heavy bass, I don't know if I want to lift to it. All right, that's all I'm saying.
Hey, I'm just here to meet your neighbors. Okay, I'm just here to make the neighbors okay with how big that bass drum is.
Uh,
All right, we'll pick this up next week.
cool.
Okay, appreciate you.
See y'all.